Chapter 1. I stumbled and crawled on my knees, clawing the fine, foreign dirt now thankfully beneath my hands. Moments before, there had been nothing to hold to, sucked into a chaotic passage and dragged through it like a twig in a thundering river. My fingers had raked at walls that weren't there. I had struggled to find purchase with flailing limbs, to pull myself back to the glen, the one I never should have gone to in the first place, at the farthest edge of my rural California town. The glimmer of light I had seen in the trees lied to me. It conveyed longing, yearning. It told me I wanted to come closer. So I did. Foolish, Lily, so foolish. Though I suppose it gave me exactly what I asked for, what I'd galloped my horse out into the hills for, a way out. A reprieve from my failures, my static life, my lackluster college career, and more. Searching the hills for Josie Brooks had become an obsession. My only friend vanishing had left me single-minded. Ragged breaths shuddered through me, my chest constricted and hands balled into involuntary fists, as I finally gave way and crumpled to the ground. Debris stuck to my tear-streaked face, and hair from my braid clung to my neck. I cradled my legs with teeth clenched and eyes squeezed shut. My brows formed a knot. The inevitable digression that always followed a trigger event had started. Bad memories that waited to edge out my logical, steady self finally elbowed their way to the surface. Coiled around my mind like dark demons squatting inside me, they tightened, getting more of a foothold as they replayed yet again. A firestorm, unchecked and rolling across the land like an angry god intent on destruction. Embers rained, singeing my skin as I struggled to kick my immovable rock of a horse onward, with the flames fast approaching. Not again. Count. Just count. I moved my lips, but no words came out. Pulling my knees tighter to my chest, I forced a slow breath. That was always the hardest part. The first measured inhale when all my body wanted to do was to hyperventilate. The second breath came easier. But as I exhaled, the vision of what had brought on this current episode flashed in my mind. Plagued by indecision on whether covering my ears or my eyes would be more effective. Loud, electrified cracks had zipped through the air as multicolored lights strobed and flashed. I slid through the vortex unprotected from the chaos to where I now lay panting. Both terrifying darkness and impossible brightness had saturated the tunnel. The memory of the stark contrast made me cringe. And the pain, the horrible pain that scorched through my body with the sensation of being stretched and pulled beyond my physical limits. No. I forced another slow breath through my nose as I tried to quiet my mind. I opened my eyes and shook out my hands, my fingers still curled and locked as I struggled onto my shins. 3, 2, 1. You are safe. But was I? I hadn't even looked around. I couldn't. The transition through the passage was like what I imagined birth must be like, so turbulent that babies can't remember it, pushed from everything they knew into a loud, harsh world. I placed my hands under my shoulders into the ground and struggled to get up. I blinked several times to force my vision to adjust when blinding pain shot through the arches of my feet. I squinted and cringed at my paddock boots, scuffed and worn with years of use. They were farther away than I would expect, like looking at them through a wide-angle lens. The leather domed on top, distending from my feet inside. I bent over to unlace them, forcing them open so I could wriggle my feet free. As I wrenched out the first foot, I did a double take. My feet were larger, longer, and stronger. I worked off my other boot and sock. Both feet had grown at least 2 sizes. I traced the red marks left by the stitched toe piece, normally not even in contact with my foot. My eyes shifted up to the hem of my riding breeches, now a good 8 inches higher up my calf. The seams shrieked with stress and constricted my skin. My shin bones ached like a 10-year-old's in the midst of a massive growth spurt. The distraction of my painful feet passed, and the memory of where I was struck me. Or rather, the fact that I didn't know where I was. I shot up and looked around. My jaw dropped and eyes rounded as I took in my surroundings. I stood on a smooth, rocky landing at the peak of a huge precipice. Edging toward the drop-off, I peered over the descent. Thick, woody vines grew across the vertical surface, down into a forested area far below. Gone was the glen of Black Oak Grove. There was nothing recognizable about the landscape I now gazed toward. Trees so tall they loomed higher than the cliff I was perched on, bigger by far than the great sequoias I had visited when my family was still whole. I spun around to face where I'd come from. If I could see the tunnel by which I traversed here, or the circle of oaks that marked the entrance to the hidden passage, or my horse Apollo beyond that. None of those things were there.